So, today I'm with Nick Langer, obviously, and today what we're going to talk about is something that's a little controversial depending upon who you ask. We're going to go on the subject of deloads, when to do it, how to do it, and basically why they're important. As far as my experience with deloads, I had never done any type of deload when I was bodybuilding. Then when I switched to powerlifting, I found out the concept of them. But usually when I did it, it was kind of like a screw off week. And with that, it's bad because you lose time and you lose conditioning during that time if you screw off, like I did. So we're gonna go through the do's and don'ts and how to structure your food and all that. So what are some of the principles of a deload that we should adhere to?
So deload, basically the very basic understanding of this is your overall training volume gets dropped very, very low. So the week is to help out with muscle recovery, lowering inflammation. As far as food goes, going to be lowering gastric distress, helping out with insulin sensitivity. You will get a little bit of a recomp aspect through the week as well if you do it right. And there's some other stuff that you can do to help out with inflammation aspects so that when you do go into the next week, you actually are going to feel a lot more recovered. And you should actually end up moving a little bit more weight within the next following couple weeks. Also, normally what you can end up doing is the previous volume that you might have ended at, you should be able to then hit that same volume or surpass it depending on the person, because that's not always the truth for everybody. And that's also the same thing with pretty much everything in fitness, is it depends. So as far as when you do this, that's going to be, again, person dependent. Most of the time, most people, it's about every 4 to 6 weeks you need some sort of a deload. I previously had not done it, and then this past year when I started working with Ed Koo, he brought the idea to me, actually when we were still doing bodybuilding, and I had never done that, implemented that with bodybuilding previously. And one thing I will say is I noticed a huge difference as far as the weights I could push, growth-wise. I had a huge difference in growth, and I was doing a lot less work over the entire span of the year than I was previously. So there is something to be said about rest, recovery in that aspect. You got any points on that?
Yeah, keep in mind that Nick is an advanced lifter. I consider myself semi-advanced. If you're a ranked beginner, or if you're within the first year of your training, you're not necessarily needing a deload. What you're needing to do is that you're needing to get your body conditioned.
Right.
So the deloads are usually for guys that are lifting hundreds of pounds over an extended period of time. So that's something to keep in mind if you're a beginner and you're watching this video.
Yep, and I will say with beginners, more than anything, your biggest advantage, and one thing that I think a lot of people underestimate, is rest days. So taking those rest days and fully recuperating on those days throughout the week. You know, maybe as a beginner only training 5 to 6 days a week and actually having 2 days a week where you rest and allow your body to heal up. That's going to be beneficial to you more so than a full week off. And I will say, as far as structuring wise, you don't actually take an entire week off from the gym. So you are actually still working out. It's going to be about 3 days a week out of the entire week instead of the 5 or 6 days that you normally work out. And those workouts are going to be very, very fluff workouts. So, I mean, you're talking 2 sets, 20 reps at like 60% of your max. So it's just to pump muscle into the blood, or pump blood into the muscle, kind of alleviate any of that excess lactic acid that might be built up, and also help out with still in some aspects stimulating the muscle, but not necessarily to the point where you're actually breaking muscle tissue down. That's going to actually cause you to have to repair, if that makes sense. So for my advanced lifters, you know, again, like I said, it's going to be person dependent on when you do this. It can be one of those things where, you know, it could be 4 weeks, it could be 6 weeks. It's going to be person dependent. And what I will tell you is how you're going to know it is how I gauge it is, one, log your workouts so you know what weights you're pushing. Once you get to a point where you can't push that weight either higher or you can't push more reps, or you're pushing less weight than you were previously, that's probably a good idea that, okay, I'm getting close to a point where I need to deload. I need to take a break for a minute, allow my body to kind of rest, recuperate, and then get back to it. So that'd be my key on that one.
Plot twist. You know I love training.
Yep.
All right. Now, there are some days when it's like, it'll be like maybe 2 days in a row. I'm not pushing what I pushed before.
Yep.
Mentally tired, physically, whatever.
Right.
Not fed, not sleeping. But I go in and I have a killer out of the wall session, and we're talking on my 7th week of training, and then those days of good sessions just accumulate.
Yep.
What do we do about the deload then? Is it more of a mental aspect that we need to back off? Or is it something that, again,
Good morning.
the deload depends?
Again, this is what I would say. If you're having a consistent amount of crappy workouts, let's say 4 out of 5 days of that week, you feel weak, or your joints are actually hurting, or you're not able to push the weight 4 out of 5 days that you were previously that previous week, I would say a deload would be best in your circumstance. Because what could happen is, you know, those 4 days you could have gotten crap sleep and crap food, and then all of a sudden you got your food and everything on point, and you got sleep on point. Well, basically you allowed yourself to recover in that little span, so that one day that you're going back in and busting ass, well, that's because you actually gave yourself enough to actually heal up, right? So what it would tell me is, if you're in a high stress situation, and this is something that I've implemented before, when I was opening up the gym, you know, there was a week where I knew that workouts were going to be hard. I knew I was going to be on minimal sleep, and I knew I was going to be on minimal food. I did a deload. So I did a deload just off the principle that I knew that it would be better off for me to drop my food down, to not push the training because I'd already be on minimal sleep and minimal food. So it was more of like a impromptu deload week, which is something else that you can definitely do there if you're feeling like you're going to be under a lot of stress or little amounts of sleep.
Now, spoke about food, limiting your food. What are some of the food considerations that people need to take into a deload week?
Yep. So as far as food goes, protein I would keep at the same, if not a little bit higher than previous weeks. I don't want you cutting your calories a ton. What I would tell you is probably right around a maintenance calorie intake. So if you're in a constant surplus, you're trying to grow, then I would say obviously taking your food down, and that's going to be mostly taken from carbohydrates, number one, and then 2 would be dietary fats. So you want to drop both those down, keep your protein about where they were previously, where it was previously. And I'm not saying cut carbs completely. I'm not saying cut fats completely. What I am saying is utilize this time to actually allow your body to get more insulin sensitive, and allow your body to have lower calories so that you can have a little bit of a recomp effect going on during that period.
All right, so now we get into the aspect of days. How many days should you train during your deload week?
Yep. So as far as training goes, 3 days a week is what I'm used to, and what I've been prescribed every time I've ever done it, and what I prescribe to people as well. I normally see that works out pretty well. And what I normally do with that is, because majority of people train the hell out of their legs, most times, if they're training the hell out of their legs, I do 1 leg day a week, and that leg day is very simple. I mean, you're talking, if you're going to do compound lifts, it's maybe 50-60% of your max on those compound lifts, and maybe only 3 sets of very low rep. And then you're talking, a couple of fluff sets of 2 sets of 20 or whatnot on like leg extension or leg curl. Nothing crazy. Maybe 3-4 lifts for your legs. For upper body, maybe 2 lifts per muscle group. And again, 60% of your max at 15-20 reps, more aimed towards blood flow and pushing blood into muscle rather than breaking down muscle tissue.
Okay, so we got into how often, food manipulation, days. Talk about the mental aspect of a deload. One thing that's helped me when I kind of deload is I try not to look at anything that's mentally taxing, mentally stressful, because obviously you want to conserve that energy because you know hell is about to come
Correct.
the next week. So what are some of the things that you do to relax during your deload?
Well, so I there's a lot of key things here, and I want you to understand. I think the hardest part about a deload is actually backing off. Anybody that actually likes to go in, work out, push weights, the hardest part is actually backing off for that entire week. So what I would tell you is this: as far as things that you do during that deload week to help out with rest, recovery, I would say making sure that you're getting in deep tissue massage that week, making sure that you're getting into your chiropractor that week. If you can do things like Graston or cupping or any of those aspects to help out with alleviating any adhesions in the muscle, or helping out with increasing blood flow to the muscle to help out with recovery aspects, those are going to be great things on those days. And then aside from that, as far as like a protocol wise, there are things like hot cold showers. So you could do a 20-minute shower two times a day where you're doing 1 minute hot, 1 minute cold, rotating between the two. And what that's actually going to do is it actually kind of helps out with blood circulation throughout your entire body, alleviating some of the toxins, and also does help out with clearing out some of the lymph node aspects and whatnot too. So that can help out with recovery aspects. And then obviously take advantage of the sleep, take advantage of the basics as far as getting all of your food in and getting all of your rest during that week, so that you understand that that week is all about rest and recovery more than it is anything else. The other thing that I will say is, if you're a caffeine stim junkie, Mr. Larry Brown here, then I would tell you, go ahead and make sure that you take your caffeine consumption down. You don't have to cut it out all the way, but if you're taking a gram of caffeine, like something like what I was doing previously, then take it down to just a cup of coffee a day. 150 milligrams of caffeine a day instead. Give your adrenals a break. Allow your body to relax. I mean, we're talking about an entire full body recovery here for that week, and trust me, you're going to see a big difference. You'll see a big difference. You'll see a weight drop more than anything because inflammation's going down. So most of the time, my deload weeks, I see anywhere from a 5 to 10 pound drop, and that's not because I lost lean muscle tissue because I didn't work out. It's literally because inflammation has gone down. My food was down, so I lost a little bit of body fat from the recomp. And I might look a little bit softer, quote unquote, but that's because I hadn't been in the gym actually pushing heavy weight for a week. So it does make a difference.
Do you ever extend the deload longer than what it needs to be?
I think it depends on your definition of needs to be. I would say if you've got nagging injuries, if you've got certain joints that just won't heal up no matter how much recovery stuff you do, you would probably be better off extending out your deload a little bit longer just to make sure that you can get rid of any of those nagging injuries. Now again, we're talking about very, very experienced lifters here. People that go into the gym, you're spending an hour straight of just slinging weights the whole time, and you're talking weights that are 3 to 4 times what a normal individual will be moving all the time. And especially even for somebody like myself who competed 3 times last year, deloads are something that I now look forward to because I've got a bunch of nagging stuff that's kind of all compounded together, and so I need the time to actually kind of allow my body to heal up, and also mentally refocus in on the goal at hand.
All right, well, I don't have any more questions. I don't really have anything to add. The big thing is that take the deload week seriously. It's not a time to screw off. It's not a time to increase your alcohol consumption or your junk food consumption. It's literally a systematic way for your body to recover from hard training, because you have to think of training. A lot of people don't understand is that training each week is not by itself. They're each blocks that build upon each other.
Yeah, it's a compounding effect.
So you definitely want to take the deload week seriously. You got to rest as hard as you train. So,
and one point that I will make out, and one thing that actually Ed has actually always told me, is you got to think of a deload week like basically 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So you're actually, as much as it sucks to take the time out of the gym and trust me, I hate deep tissue and rolling and cupping and all of that stuff. You know, it might feel like you're taking a step back for that week, but in the end, you'll actually see a huge benefit from taking that time off. And one other thing that I can tell you is, even going into my last bodybuilding show we did, I actually noticed a nice metabolic boost, because we actually we backed off on training, we backed off on pushing food, and it was amazing because my body just flipped. So sometimes a deload week can actually be very beneficial to you, because if you overtax your system for too long, what can actually happen is, especially if we're talking programming here, if you push and push and push and push and don't take those breaks, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to actually end up doing exactly the opposite of what you're trying to do. So you can actually get to a point where you do so much volume that you actually end up starting to dig into lean muscle tissue, and your body kind of reverts backwards. So keep that in mind, that again, it's going to suck for that week that you do it, but 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
All right, well, seems to be all we got on deload. We hope this video has helped you. We hope to do more training and diet related videos in the future, in addition to the yelling and screaming that I do throughout the week.
Yep.
So if you like it, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you want to hear in the future, and we'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
All right?
If you have any more questions, anything more in depth, I know Larry and I both like to do research. So if there's something that we didn't cover, or something that we might not be as knowledgeable about go ahead and leave a comment. Let us know, and we'll look at it and get an answer for you. So thanks, guys.